You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 29, 2022 meeting of the Michigan City Housing Authority Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 3:04. So we're going to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Director Hutton on the roll, please.
Nathan Patrick.
Present.
Rodney McCormick.
Present.
Michael Vincent.
Present.
Stacy Benning.
Present.
Kenneth Fly.
Present.
Talani Reyna. Present. And Attorney Jewel Harris.
Present.
Perfect. Everybody is present. Okay. So I'd just like to start off by saying we have our agenda in front of us. We had some updated things that the director put in our packets for us. If we can all be respectful of each other's times and our comments and things like that, that'd be wonderful, so we can get through this meeting, get things talked about that we need to be talked about, get them voted on, and so we can start working on them, and so we can get on to the next. So that's my only request today. And with that being said, Director Hutton.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes for the annual meeting, the regular board meeting, August 25th, 2022, and the special board meeting, August 22nd, 2022.
I move that we do not accept the minutes, and I hope that we finally, I just move that we don't accept the minutes, and we finally get these changed over to what we voted on. I'll second.
Director Hutton on the roll.
Nathan Patrick.
Aye.
Rodney McCormick.
Aye.
Michael Vincent.
Aye.
Stacy Benning.
Aye.
Kenneth Fly.
Aye.
Talani Reyna.
Aye.
Ms. Hudson? I'm sorry, go ahead.
6-0. Approval of the resolution.
One moment. Is there a comment on that?
Yeah, I have a question for Ms.
Oh,
Hudson.
question.
Ms. Hudson, why is it so hard for us to get the minutes changed over to what we voted on? Mr. Vincent made a motion and then we seconded it and we had a vote on it. The minutes are just way too much.
I didn't know it was a vote for the minutes.
That was one of the first things we did. One of our first meetings we did, and some of the hang-ups are it's a transcript. Within a transcript, if I'm voting to approve a transcript, I have to know exactly what everyone said, including myself, to look at it and ensure that it's complete and accurate. I can't sit down and look and vouch for what each individual at the table
The
said.
transcript is based on the audio.
There's misspellings, in particular my name on some of these.
Okay.
So if there's misspellings of something so simple as my name, I'm sure there's other areas that
There's
are
errors in the transcript. There's things in there I know for a fact I didn't say that are in there. I even brought it to his attention, to his attention.
So I think with that being said, the general minutes are supposed to be a memorialization of what's happened in a meeting. I can speak to that because I used to write the county council's minutes hours and hours and hours on end, and it was a memorialization of what happened.
Okay.
So that's what we voted on in one of our beginning meetings with our new board. So that is something that we are looking for, and I guess until we get that, they won't be approved.
Okay.
And if you can work with Mr. Vincent and he'll go over it again with you, we need to get this done so we can move forward with this. So we want to have to do this next meeting. Thank you.
All right. Do anyone know what meeting that was?
That was the very first meeting when Mrs. Keating was actually here. That was the meeting that she actually referred to the Board of Works, the format that they use for their agenda, for their meeting.
For the agenda, but it
For the
wasn't.
meeting, for the minutes.
I don't remember.
If you want to bring the motion back on the floor, Mr. Vincent.
I'll reiterate the previous motion. I'll make a motion that the continued minutes and be in such a form that is consistent with other departments and other entities that take minutes and present them to boards
Okay.
for approval.
We don't need it word by word, just what's key.
Do we need to make a motion to
We did it last week.
retroactive have the minutes so that, well, I guess we've been approving them. I think I'm the only one that's been voting nay, so they've been approved up until this point. So the minutes that need to be corrected are today going.
Is there a format that we can provide you an example of? I mean, I'm willing to provide you an example of several different boards. I'm on a couple different boards and commissions, and we can provide you of some type of format. I mean, it's public record, so I can provide you of those minutes of those other boards and commissions if you want an example.
Okay, that would work.
Okay, so can we clarify that motion?
I think,
I have a motion to present the minutes to the board for approval in
probably said it.
in proper format.
Not word for word, but I believe that we already voted on this last meeting.
We did.
I'm almost 100% sure our last special meeting, we voted on it right here, so I second.
Director,
Nathan Patrick,
aye.
Rodney McCormick,
Aye.
Michael Vincent,
Aye.
Stacy Benning, Kenneth Fly,
Aye.
Talani Raina, 6-0.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. Approval of resolution 2022-06, new schedule of payment standards for fair market rents.
Special. Discussion.
Yeah, well, first of all, what page is that on?
It's after the middle.
Is it after FY 2022?
It's after all the minutes.
After all the minutes,
Yeah.
right there.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this one.
Yes.
After page 37.
Look, 37, and I have a resolution 2206.
Yes, that's it.
That's a lot. Okay.
Okay, I'll open this up for discussion.
If I may, Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
It's hard to accept the fair market value. I know that we need to, and we're probably going to, but the conditions of our units are below standard. And we're going to actually increase rent. I'm assuming that this is what this is going to do.
No, the fair market rent is for the Section 8 renters. And with the Section 8 renters, the standards is 120%, and they only pay 40% of the 120, which means the Section 8 will
They pay less.
pay, not the Section 8, the resident will pay less.
Resident pays less.
Yes.
The residents pay how much?
40% of their income.
40% of the 120?
40% of their income period, which is 40% of the 120.
And it was increased from 120 from where?
We were at 110,
110, so it was increased from 110 to now 120.
20, yes.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion if there's any more
Well, I
discussion.
still have a question on that.
Yeah.
Understand.
Okay.
Okay.
And forgive me, this is coming slowly. 120% of what?
Of the fair market rents.
Okay, what does that mean?
I put in your packet the PI
Maybe the one I just received 5 minutes ago?
No, I gave you a packet last board meeting.
Was this information in that?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Without this fair market value.
Mhm.
For example, 1 bedroom, payment standard of 905 and a fair market rent of 254. So the 120% or the 40% will be based on 754.
Right.
Is that how that's understood?
No, like the resident has income and their rent is $1,000. And 40% of whatever their income is, that's all they pay. And then we would pay the remainder. after doing like a rent reasonableness, making sure that their rent is reasonable for the area and location where they stand. And once we get that, then that would be the amount that the housing would agree to pay for the resident.
Do we have any units that we put out for Section 8, that we manage and,
Yes, we have units that we put out for Section 8, yes. Yes.
Is our attorney willing to give us a glance over? Can you kind of explain what she's trying to say?
I can.
Okay.
So this process is routine. The idea is for you to establish some base standard from which you can make certain calculations.
Okay.
And it all starts with what that fair market rent number would be. And it's used for purposes of both the Housing Choice Voucher Program and for the public housing rent amount. And calculations are made based upon that figure, period. So unless and until the board establishes what that fair market rent is, you can't do anything else after that. I think it would be a good idea if in a future meeting, we have somewhat of a workshop to explain kind of how all this works, because it is somewhat complicated. There is attached to it the PIH that tries to walk you through what all that means, but it reads like an encyclopedia, right? It's not necessarily that helpful. I think it's easier if you use like a case study and then walk through what that example is that we built through. That's what I recommend. But for purposes of today, the only thing that you're being asked to do is establish what that fair market rent would be so that calculations can be made. You're not raising or lowering rents or doing any of that. That decision's not being made right now.
But the fair market rent percentage is being,
table it?
well, the payment standard is being increased though.
Yes.
Okay.
I need to let you know that the payment standard of 120 has been already established here.
So what are we voting on? To keep it the same?
Yeah,
In order to keep whatever that percentage is going to be in place, you have to affirm that or change it on a regular basis.
right. October 1st is where they come out with the fair market, and we have to do it every year.
Okay. This reads funny to me where it says, Michigan City has increased to 120. That would suggest it was something less than 120.
Well, we were at 110. That's what I was saying.
So I ask again, we are increasing something.
We've already been at 120 for, not all year, part of the year when HUD gave us the waiver to go to 120.
So if I could jump in, I think the resolution is confusing. That second whereas clause, where it says that Michigan City has increased to 120 and will remain at 120, that's why you're confused.
Yes.
But I think the explanation is it was 110 mid-year or at some point throughout the year it went to 120 and now you're remaining the same. So it's just not very clear, but I think that's the background.
Okay. So this is cleaning all of
After
that up
37.
for the remainder of the year,
Yes.
which will be at 120. Then we'll be advised to something different, whether it stay at 120 beyond.
What has happened is what HUD has issued a waiver to continue to 2023.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But this says it will remain 120% until the end of this year.
Right.
This year.
I understand, but HUD didn't issue the waiver till yesterday.
Okay.
So we need clarification. Like, this is unclear. This is unclear completely.
So this is what I would recommend. The resolution you're adopting takes it through the end of 2022, right? And it leaves that caveat that or unless this waiver is issued, and now it's being reported at the meeting that it has, why don't we let the resolution stand as it is? I'll review that waiver with Director Hutton, and then we can report back at the next meeting what the waiver says, what it means, and even be prepared to provide you with kind of a little example of how all this works and what it means, because it's not fully clear as is. The resolution, though, and what it's trying to do, I think is clear after we clear up the confusion.
I move to accept resolution number 2022-06.
I'll second.
All right, very good.
Nathan Patrick,
Aye.
Rodney McCormick,
Aye.
Michael Vincent,
Aye.
Stacy Benning, Kenneth Fly,
Aye.
and Talani Rainer.
All right.
6-0.
On to the next one.
What's the next? Approval of Resolution 2022-07, Michigan City Housing Authority Budget Fiscal Year 2023.
And is that after?
Yes, it's after,
It should be correspondent
After,
I can repeal that.
page number.
Let's get to it.
There's no page number, it's just after that.
it'd be like after a page 13.
I'll go to the back. There it is.
So it's before the 2 pages that are folded up.
The budget.
All right.
Yeah, page number at the bottom of it.
No. It's
After page 13 of that other resolution.
These are a lot of,
Ms. Sutton?
it must be nice to have like a workshop. Like,
It's your resolution.
so, yeah.
okay. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, to approve the operating budget for fiscal year 2023. Whereas the Housing Authority prepares an estimate fiscal year operating budget each year, and whereas the Housing Authority fiscal year starts at the beginning of October and ends at September, and whereas a draft of the operating budget estimates is presented to the Board for review and approval. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, approve fiscal year 2023 operating budget.
I move to table this until we have a workshop so that we all can go over this. So if we have any questions, we can do this at a special meeting just to address this budget.
I second.
Did you have something you wanted to add, Director?
Where the operating budget, where our fiscal year ends October 1st, and it's just a prediction, it's not what actually is happening. It's a projection for next year.
So these are just projections.
Yes.
So I guess what we need to do then, I guess per the resolution, is to have a workshop on the current budget.
There's a second on the floor.
Can I ask a question? I'm just curious in terms of the budget that's being proposed for 2023, does it deviate from the 2022 budget in any significant way?
No.
It's the exact same budget?
Yeah.
There are no increases or decreases in any of the areas?
Oh.
So if that's the case, in order to remain on schedule in terms of having your operating budget approved, it wouldn't be a bad idea to approve the budget based upon the representation being made that it's the same as 2022. You can amend your budget after going through, having your workshop and working through it, but at least you wouldn't be deficient in terms of having adopted it prior to the next fiscal year rolling around, which is what, next Monday?
Yes.
So you do have the ability to amend it that way. So that makes it safe, right? That it's the same budget as last year. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what you want the budget to look like for 2023. So I'm not suggesting it should stay the same. Change it however you want to change it. Go through certain scenarios. Your staffing levels may have changed. There's a lot of factors that could cause you to adjust the budget. Maybe the bottom line number stays the same, but you move it from bucket to bucket, right? You just don't know that yet. And that might take a while if you really want to dig in and work on it. So if that were to take, let's say a month for you to do that, following questions and going back and forth, you'd be a month into the next fiscal year and still not have your budget approved. So you may want to consider adopting it based upon the representation that the budget's the same.
I'd just like to add, the board is basically new. Mr. Fly, I believe, is Mr. Commissioner Fly, is the only one that was here last year, as far as that, the approval of the budget last year. We don't know what last year's budget looked like. None of us here, I don't recall it, and be quite frank, there's a lot of problems, so it's hard to keep passing stuff without knowing what's really going on.
Yeah, no, you should have had a workshop on the budget, a month or more ago. But you didn't. You do have an obligation as a board. This is one of your primary responsibilities to make sure the budget is in place for the fiscal year. Really what you'd be doing by approving the budget is maintaining the status quo until such time that you do have a workshop, get a chance to work with the budget and amend it based upon what this board feels is appropriate. So that's why my advice is you could approve it. It, in essence, is just maintaining the status quo until you have a.
So you're saying there's no harm, really no harm with approving it instead of
keeping things the same until you know what's going on. There would be some harm in the board just not taking action.
Right.
Well, I'd like to remove my second. It's a breath of fresh air to have attorney representation here, and again, welcome for being here.
Thank you.
And I want to remove my.
I take my motion, I withdraw my motion, and I make a motion to accept under the stipulations that we have a workshop for Ms. Hutton to explain what was the budget for 2022 in the near future, very near future.
I'll second that.
If I can make a comment on that, now that that's what you're doing, that would be a public session, so it would be something that the public would be invited to attend. And there may be some other information that you want to make sure is available at that work session so that they can ask questions and kind of interact with you more in terms of, tenant figures, all that stuff, because they all end up relating back to the budget. Looking at the numbers by themselves on just a budget spreadsheet doesn't really tell you a whole lot. So I'm just saying we should be prepared to really dig into other data too. So, yeah.
All right, Director Hutton on the roll call.
Nathan Patrick,
Aye.
Rodney McCormick.
Aye.
Michael Vincent,
Aye.
Stacy Benning,
Aye.
Kenneth Fly,
Aye.
Kalani Rayner,
Aye.
6-0.
All right. So with that workshop, how soon will it take you to get all that information compiled so that we can get this taken care of?
Well, I know that the TA is supposed to be here the first of next month, October. So if I can find out the actual days, then I'll have it set up with them.
Okay, and I'll be following up with you on that.
And you can be present, Mr. Harrison.
Okay.
So everything you have, Ms. Hutton, please forward to our attorney as well. Thank you.
All right.
Approval of Resolution 2022-08, Michigan City Housing Authority write-off for fiscal year 2022. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, to write off public housing vacated tenant accounts receivable for an approximate total of $162,606.29 for fiscal year 2022. Whereas the Housing Authority of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, annually write off vacated tenants' past due accounts to prevent a remaining balance on the finance books. Whereas attached is the list of vacated tenants and amounts. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Commissioners authorize the write-off of the vacated public housing tenants for approximately total of $162,606.29 for fiscal year 22. Be further resolved that the public housing accounts receivables are written off to prevent a negative finance status regarding the Housing Authority operating subsidy in order to obtain full subsidy amount allocated by HUD.
So we're writing this off from people who vacated on what basis?
This was their balance when they left.
Like vacated, like they vacated because of willfully being vacated, or were they?
That both.
And so basically we're saying they no longer, we rendered them services and they no longer have to hold up their end of the contract.
No, we're writing them off our books.
But they still owe.
Yes.
I can chime in. Yeah, so this is an accounting function. So it's solely for the purpose of, like Director Hutton said, for the books. It doesn't mean that that debt necessarily goes away. There's a variety of things you can do with it, and it would tie back to whatever board policy you have regarding these delinquencies.
Delinquencies.
Yeah, delinquencies. So I don't know what that policy is yet. I've never seen it, but
Neither.
that's something for you to consider. There should be a board policy related to how you deal with these delinquencies. But this portion of it is just the accounting portion, and it keeps you in good graces with HUD for that purpose. Those delinquencies, though, on the tenant perspective, though, it follows them. So if they stiff the housing authority, basically, they have a scarlet letter they wear, and it follows them everywhere they go. So they won't go stiffing other housing authorities.
Is there a debt collection, so to
It's
speak?
an option that
Tied to them? Depending on what our policy.
it depends on what your policy says.
Okay.
Yeah, your policy will spell out, you'll try this for the first so many months of the delinquency, and if that doesn't work, then you'll either do whatever you decide to do. Contract with a debt collection agency, sell the debt.
I've seen that.
It all depends on what you choose.
Let's get a copy of that policy to all the commissioners, please. Sir,
I have a motion to accept it, under the ground that, seems like this is, more clerical, situation of, clearing us up, keeping our books together. I don't think it's a scapegoat for the residents and they debt. You know, they still have their burden on them. I think this is just something that we need to approve and get it, squashed away on our end with our paperwork and books at least. And I don't think no resident getting away free either. Even though I would agree that some should, considering our past illegitimate saying they owed us and this and that. So eventually down the line, we might can get to that and probably relieve some people that do need relief on some of their debts. But as of now, I think to clear books up and get us together, I think we should accept this motion.
Mr. Chair.
yes. Two questions you
Yes, two questions.
And then we'll go back to your motion.
How much of this is from the last administration, from the last executive director?
This is 2022.
So this has been since you've been here.
This is 2022. This is from the people that vacated 2022.
And by accepting this, does this do anything? Does this give us a negative on our score?
No. It helps our score. If we don't accept it, that gives us the negative.
Right.
Is that
That's
true?
accurate. That's true. This helps you as the housing authority as opposed to hurts you. And the figures that we're talking about are typical, like with most housing authorities. This number's not crazy, put it that way.
Right. I'm not looking at the number. We have our last administration was terrible. There was double billing people. A lot of stuff was going on, and people didn't owe rent, and we had no way to even keeping track on what people owe. And we still doing stuff that didn't make sense. And me and Mr. Fly filed a motion request, and we was denied. But you know, I think we need to let all that stuff go from the last administration, because it's like it's hard to move forward if we keep going backwards and we don't even know what's really owed.
So one thing you can consider in that policy that I'm saying you should review that ties back to this, a lot of housing authorities are aggressively pursuing repayment plans with tenants so that you avoid a lot of the dispute, on the back end. Some are doing that to avoid evictions, and some are doing it even post-eviction so that they still have the opportunity to go to other housing authorities. So that's something to consider in your policy of, hey, let's devote some resources internally to try to negotiate repayment plans so that you do, recapture some of these funds that are out there as opposed to later just writing it off or not pursuing them at all. And they may be already doing that, I don't know, but it's to consider.
I just want to add to this is the understanding the last administration had no way of keeping track of what was taken out, what came in. They failed. And we're holding people accountable to pay bills that we don't even know. I've had numerous complaints that people were being paid, had to pay double. And this nonsense that kept going on, all because of the last administration. And I don't want to keep carrying it on. Ms. Hutton's here now. I think we need to move forward from when she came into office, and we have a legitimate way of accounting these bills. I think we need to let all the other stuff go. But that's just something we can bring up later, but we do need to address it.
Until then, there's a motion on the
I'll second
table.
it.
Nathan Patrick,
Aye.
Rodney McCormick,
Aye.
Michael Vincent,
Aye.
Stacy Benning,
Aye.
Kenneth Fly,
Aye.
Talani Raina, 6-0. Next on the agenda is my report. I am,
Communications.
communications. Is there anything under communications?
Did you receive anything?
No.
You've received no communications?
No. Not at this time.
Okay.
Director's report. We previously had a fire. I got the estimate from at the center in Lakeland. I got the estimate for the fire, is less than $2,000 for the repairs. We have ordered the supplies to make the necessary repairs for, Lakeland. We also have, the quotes back for the cameras, and I want to, the members of the IT to look over with us regarding those quotes for here and Lakeland Estates, the inside, the hallways, the outside, and also at this site, the new intercoms to work along when the doors get repaired. So, they did come in. We also have, we had a power outage again. During the power outage, I know Chairman Patrick has been, was relaying to everyone what was going on. But we had a storm and the power went out, and we had to put one family in the hotel again. But since then, everything is all right. I've been out there we have 2 tree trimmers. I've been out there with them. They're doing a real good job trimming the area like we wanted. John's tree service started today on what they were supposed to do, but Noel's doing a real good job out there. Yeah. Are there any?
You was talking about the IT person to go over the camera. Who was the IT person?
Committee.
Oh, committee.
I'm sorry. I said person. I apologize. I meant the committee.
Okay.
I meant the committee. And I think that's headed by Ms. Talani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have we found out the new financial person?
No, we haven't. Not at this time. That's one of the reasons the TA is coming.
Is there any companies out there that can that we can bring in?
Well, the TA is the finance company that HUD has brought in for us that we don't have to pay for.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what that arrangement is yet. There are,
Yeah, there are.
you can't contract out for financial services, I'll
Right.
answer your question. You can't, yes.
And we do have contractors. We have fee accountants. So it's not like we stuff is not being contracted. We have 2 fee accountants.
The TA person, when are we going to meet this person? What's this person's name?
His name is Ron Urich. That's for the finance.
Okay. So there's multiple TA people?
Yes.
Okay, just want to clarify because I'm
Yes,
DiBiase.
Yeah, Tony is not.
And do you happen to have a copy of the agreement with us, Michigan City Housing Authority and HUD, for the TA person?
That was between them and HUD.
I think the question would be whether or not there's any correspondence from HUD explaining the scope of the arrangement of assigning the TAs.
They didn't give me, no, I don't have.
Request that though, just so that the board's clear that HUD provides some scope. You know, who's coming, who are they, you tell us something about them, and what's the scope of their involvement with the housing authority.
Can we solicit you to do that for us?
Yes.
We definitely need to get that done. We don't want to get in a trick bag with Bruce again with making up certain things as we go along. I like having it right.
And I would say some of this conversation is under job postings. So, and we can unpack that more once we get to that under new business.
Okay. Any more?
Yes, and where are we at with the dire situation right now with maintenance?
With maintenance,
Yes.
right now we have, Clem was out and he was in the hospital, but right now we have him back. And he came back on Wednesday, so we're moving forward.
Have you considered trying to get him in some training or to get licensed to do HVAC or do plumbing? I'm just uncomfortable.
You know, the HVAC and the plumbing, I tell you, he only do minimal. If it's any HVAC or any plumbing, I call a contractor out for those.
Well, I'm sorry to just keep harping on this, but maintenance is probably the biggest issue that we have right now. And it seems like nothing's being done. We still have windows who still have bullet holes in it, and people are living in there, they still haven't been changed. What is the problem?
We're short staffed.
Why we can't call someone out to help us? Is there anything you can do to call someone out, solicit another housing authority for help?
Right now, the housing authorities that I normally get help from, they're busy because they had REACT inspection in East Chicago and Gary. They are restructuring, so at this time. So, and I have reached out to them to see if there anybody that they're laying off or anyone that is interested in coming to work this way. So
why haven't you looked into like Meyer Glass or any outside agency or solicit another service, a vendor to come in to replace the windows and the storm doors so we can move on? It's just, we're not going nowhere. I don't see nothing. Maintenance is just a serious issue. And we seem like we come to these meetings, and I've been here for almost a year now. It seems like this is like not being considered. It's not being put on the front line that the people are living here are living in conditions that they shouldn't be living in. And it's all because of our maintenance. It's not because of what they do. It's because of our maintenance. They're failing us. They failed us. So we need to address this maintenance. I don't know, Mr. Chair. I think we might have to even have a special meeting on this because maintenance is a serious issue.
Can I make a suggestion?
yeah.
So this is a great example of how important it is to go through that budget. This scenario happens in a lot of housing authorities and really any industry, right? It's hard to find good people to work even at McDonald's, right? It's just hard to find people. Well, to find skilled people who can really help you out with your maintenance concerns, it is a challenge. But in the process of going through the budget, I think one of the things, if maintenance is your primary concern for 2023, you may want to look to see if there's money you can pull from other places within the budget devoted to maintenance and look for someone who can be, if they're a professional construction manager or they've been a maintenance supervisor somewhere, you can somewhat overpay for that position. Advertise for it, overpay. It shows that you're committed to doing this for 2023 and steal that person from somewhere else, basically. So that you have someone that can come in, they're charged with this on a regular basis, make it a standing report at every board meeting for that maintenance supervisor or specialist to come in and give you a report on what's happening from month to month. But you have, as board members, have the ability to affect that type of change through the budget process and devoting money towards something that's critical to the agency.
Yes, I mean, the last time we had, we tried to get the maintenance director here and he blew us off. We had never heard an excuse, and I'm really, if I had my way, I'll blow him off. I'm just tired of this. This is just, we're not getting nowhere.
If you go the route of getting someone that you hire, pay a good wage to based on their experience, they can even help train some of the people you have internally, so it becomes a long-term solution. When you contract it out too much, they just want to fulfill the contract, make their money, and go.
Right.
They don't really care about training your staff, but having that person come in is a different story, and that will work.
Right. I am having someone come in to work with the young men that are on staff now. So.
There's one last question. Mr. Harris, have you visited our properties yet?
Not yet. Yep, I have not visited the properties yet. I've heard, had conversations, but have not visited them yet.
If you get a chance, please.
I will do that.
Thank you. Especially Lakeland Estates.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I have a question. If we're still talking about maintenance, if somebody refresh my memory, were we supposed to get a report? I forget what it was called, asset report or something, telling us all the units, what's wrong with each unit, what needs attention at each unit, and prioritizing with danger codes.
I had previously given you a report and I forgot about it in this board meeting. I apologize.
Okay. But we do have it.
Yes.
It's prepared.
Yes.
So you want to write that down and get that over to us?
Yeah.
So that typically at every meeting would be an occupancy report, and it shows, what the vacancies are. It shows if they're offline, how long they've been offline, and then the director can tell you why they're offline. But that's something that you should review as a board, every board meeting.
And we were both at the training in Elkhart, correct?
Yes.
And we was told, what was the turnaround time to have apartment ready, a 1-bedroom?
Yeah, really 2 weeks, they said, but less than 30 days. Yeah.
We have a major problem in Lakeland Estates then, major problems.
Well, I had to come kind of backwards then, because I listened to her. She said 24 hours for one and 48 hours for 2 bedrooms, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, when there's no repairs needed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
But the ones that are, like, we have several units out in Lakeland Estates that have boarded windows, boarded doors. What's the turnaround to get in there and really get those elevated and ready to?
Those units, I am working on getting the scopes done for those units because those units have been vandalized. So I have to tell exactly what is done and scope them, and then we will go out to bid on those.
Is it true, Ms. Hutton, that we have units out there that's been vacant for over 2 years?
No, those 2 years units are gone. I house those.
Well, since I've been on this board, I know that there have been units that, and I think we all got placed on here, back in, was it June?
Yeah.
June, and so.
The highest units,
October.
days is not 2 years though. If anything, right now they're going into 1 year.
Okay.
But
still.
when I got here, I took care of those 2 year, 3 year. Yeah.
Ms. Hutton, can you please provide us with a list of all our vacancies and when the date that they became vacant?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
In fact, I have a report I ran just yesterday, but I will run it again.
Thank you.
And I give it to you.
All right. Any more questions for the directors under the director's report? Any more questions? Okay, director.
Attorney's report.
So I had an opportunity to get or receive today from Director Hutton several eviction matters that I need to start reviewing and get going. I think they were continued from your prior attorney, some months ago, and now they're ready to kind of get back into court and get moving. So I'm pleased that we have that, and I'll be able to report on that on a regular basis as to how those evictions are coming. I don't know if you want to cover this here, or I see later there's an unfinished business attorney update. I can tell you what I know about that and just do it now, if that's what you'd like.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, all right, I'll do it now. So I know, first I want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve you. I'm excited about representing the Michigan City Housing Authority. It's kind of what I do, and I like doing it. I like solving problems. I know that there are issues that are out there, but the conversation we were having about the budget and how you can really impact the lives of the residents is the reason we should be doing what we're doing, because in the end, it makes their quality of life better. So I appreciate that. So based upon the actions that the board previously took, obviously you did vote to bring me on board. There was a specific caveat that the funds that you're using to pay for my services are coming out of your not-for-profit. The reason you're doing that is because there's some concern that HUD has regarding the most recent procurement process and whether or not it complies with your procurement policy. I think we're working through that. Director Bruce Nesrum, who is responsible for giving the final approval on your attorney so that you can use federal funds to pay for services, was out of the country. So we haven't been able to touch bases with him, but I have been talking to Director Hutton about this. There are a couple of options though, just so you know where things will go next in terms of the conversation with Bruce Nesrum. And that would be that we talk through the concerns they have, and he accepts the award of contract that you've already done. That's option one. Option two would be that there is another procurement avenue that you can take, and that's called a piggyback. That allows you to piggyback off of a sister agency. In this instance, the most recent one that I've contracted with is Elkhart, Indiana. You can piggyback off of their procurement so long as it's a recent procurement for the same services. And here it would be. So that is a quick fix to any concern regarding the procurement, is for the director to make the recommendation that you piggyback off of Elkhart, you end up with the same result you have now, and we can move forward. And that would allow you to make use of the federal funds. Okay, that's the problem we're trying to solve, is to make use of the federal funds. The third option would be to re-procure it and go through the process again, which is a time-consuming, long drawn-out process. That's the least efficient, but you could do that. In the interim, I would still be representing you. You would just be limited in terms of the funds you're using from the not-for-profit as opposed to the federalized funds.
Option two.
So that's the easiest option. I don't know if Director Hutton has any thoughts on that, but those are the options that are.
I have a question.
Yes.
So we taking this money out of a non-for-profit budget, account. Will HUD refund us that money?
I think that's a conversation to have with Bruce. I wouldn't count on it, right?
No.
I wouldn't count on it. You're electing to move forward so that you're not without an attorney, right? Now, I know that there was some conversation about an emergency procurement in order to address this issue so you can be represented. I think HUD committed to allowing you to do an emergency procurement solely for evictions. I don't think that addresses all of your needs though, and that's the reason you had no choice but to go the route that you went. But I understand your question and why you think that they should, because the board, in order to function and to function properly, needs to be represented by council.
So with that piggybacking off Elkhart, why can we should be able to just do that, right?
You can do that.
Right.
You can, but what would be required first is that your executive director, as the procurement officer, would need to make that recommendation to piggyback off of Elkhart, and then you can proceed down that road. But it would have to start with your executive director.
And my input on it is, the quicker we do that, the less money will be taken from the nonprofit. So the quicker we hurry up and do this, switch
Request.
piggyback,
Yes.
the less money will be taken out nonprofit to pay our attorney to be recovered, like that. So my advice would be, let's piggyback and therefore forcing them to pay them federally, and hopefully work out some things where we have them on our own.
Can we move to have our executive director do that?
I think first you have to ask, whether or not she would make that recommendation, and then you can go from there.
Would you make
Then
that
you can make a
recommendation?
motion to proceed forward with that procurement.
would you make that recommendation, Executive Cousin?
I would make the recommendation, but my issue is that we're still under zero with HUD and they have to approve.
Yeah, I think that's a condition on the back end, right? We are looking ultimately for their approval. So this doesn't bypass their approval in any way. It just, we present to them a procurement that they would approve, right? Right now, they're saying they have an issue with what they have.
Right.
What we're offering is, okay, here's another procurement avenue that we're gonna take, and tell us if you have an issue with it, but this is what we've done. This is the route we're going. So what
Okay.
the board is asking you is the recommendation on the front end, and we understand in the end, it still goes back to HUD. We explain what we did, do you approve?
Okay, so, okay.
So ultimately, they can't force us, we have 3 different avenues. They can't force us as a board to go down, we did this avenue, so now we need your recommendation to go this avenue,
Right.
whereby they'll review the entire process to make sure that Mr. McCormack hasn't interfered with anything.
Hopefully that recommendation comes as soon as possible so we can stop using our funds and our nonprofit organization.
Yeah, I think right now the question is before the
Yeah.
director, what her recommendation
Are
is.
you-
I would recommend for us to piggyback with Elkhart.
Great job.
Okay.
Great job.
And then now you can make a motion to proceed with that procurement.
Okay.
Mr. McCormick.
I'll entertain the motion.
I move that we accept this recommendation from this, from our executive director and move forward with the piggyback.
Second that, Mr. McCormick, Commissioner.
Nathan Patrick,
Aye.
Rodney McCormick,
Aye.
Michael Vincent,
Aye.
Stacy Benning,
Aye.
Kenneth Fly,
Yeah.
Talani Rainer.
Aye.
6-0.
All right. Does that conclude
It does.
your report, sir?
Yes, it does.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Our last attorney, could you please look at his contract
Okay.
and look at the date, the deadline date? See if there's anything there about why that was accepted past the deadline. I need you to just check into that. Next, one of the biggest things that maybe Mr. Commissioner Fly was listening to is that our attorney, as our attorney, do you only represent the majority of us?
No. No, there's an attorney-client relationship with all of you. Whether you vote for something or don't vote for something, whether I like you or you like me or don't, there's an attorney-client relationship between all of us.
Drew, you're all right, man. You're all right with me.
Appreciate that.
Is that illegal for an attorney to say that they only represent the
I
majority?
already told them.
It's not necessarily even a matter of whether it's legal, it's a question of whether it's ethical. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Sometimes they threw ethics out the window at one point in time.
yeah, so with that being said, I'm glad that we have a real attorney that will really get down to this. And when it comes to questioning legal questions regarding our scope of work, what we have to do as Board of Commissioners, if any one of us have a question, legal question, we can ask you that question, correct? That's what you're here for, right?
Yes.
We don't need to go through Mr. Patrick or myself for any one of the other commissioners to ask a legal question.
No.
And yes, and you have to just understand our last situation was
His
really,
reasons he's saying what he's saying.
yes.
No,
We was steered the wrong way.
And some of you know I represent the city council too, and I deal with each of the council members individually
Right.
or as a group when we're in a meeting, but
Yeah.
no, any of you can contact me whenever you want.
And one last thing, we have it on the table. I don't know if we're gonna bring it up unfinished business, but since you're talking about, we all want to participate in changing our bylaws.
Yeah.
We need to get to it. We need to get to it right away. We have some serious issues, including nepotism and being in 2 places, working in 2 places at once. We're not accepted in Michigan City.
So what I recommend is if I can take a look at the current bylaws, I can give you my 2 cents just on what they look like as is, and then you should focus on what areas each of you want to address in those bylaws. So when we do have a meeting, which will be a workshop to address it, we're not all over the place, right?
Right.
Coming up with ideas on the fly, it will keep us focused on what we're doing, so.
And Ms. Hutton, can you please provide our attorney with our current bylaws and the bylaws that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Hutton, that you said that the TA,
Yes,
through, at the request of Bruce, change our bylaws?
the TA was instructed to write our bylaws.
Is that even
Were
legal?
they ever adopted?
No, no.
Well, one thing about it is if the changing of the bylaws isn't the problem. The problem, they saying the bylaws are outdated. So our issue as a board is having another individual outside of us do and change our bylaws that are affecting us. So we want to make sure we are included in making changes and amendments to the bylaws contradictory to what they're doing now. They just trying to lay them here and say, here they go, without our consent, our notification, or recollection of anything, and there it goes. So that's not proper. I didn't think.
I think that process will be a lot smoother with me, Director Hutton, and the TAs having regular communication.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able
Do the TA have that authority to make a whole new bylaws for us and then say, hey, you guys need to vote on this?
So I think what they're doing is they are identifying areas where you're deficient, right? They're identifying areas of need and then offering you a solution. That's what they're doing. Now, depending on who the TA is, their intentions could be good or their intentions could be bad. I don't know the individual you're working with, but that's what they're charged with doing.
Well, a lot of-
Identify what your needs are, give you a solution.
A lot of them bylaws was frivolous.
Yeah, a lot of the bylaws
Yeah.
was to actually get people put off the board.
Yeah,
There was a lot of personal stuff that was,
Yeah.
they wanted to pass, and they wanted to give more authority to the executive director, and that's just, I would have never voted for it, but I just want to make sure that we all
Right.
participate, because we do need to change our bylaws to a degree. There's no doubt about that. And nepotism needs to be one of the things that we need to address. And the sooner you get that to them, I would like to have a workshop as soon as possible, Mr.
Yeah.
Harris. Hopefully within the next 45 days or so, if you can review that and make your recommendation to us as a group.
We just need to make sure we do it on a separate day than the budget workshop. we're doing.
Correct.
Okay.
Because it's a lot.
Yeah, we just gonna keep the budget all by itself. Correct.
Attorney, please forgive us, but we got a long haul.
That's all right.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
Then my next question will be, there was a hearing, and this is my last legal question. There was a hearing that was 4 board members to remove 4 board members. Why are we left to hold the bill for Shaw Freeman and Associates when none of us on the board voted? We never had a vote. They just up and just took Shaw Freeman on and represented, as he said it, the majority. And throughout the hearing, he kept talking about he only represents the majority and they can do what they want to do. Is that true?
So I'm not familiar enough with everything that happened and what got approved and what didn't get approved. I would imagine HUD was involved as well and may have given certain authorizations. So that's something I can visit with the director about and kind of report back.
And that's my problem.
Yeah.
Because Bruce, Mr. Director Nazareth, he's seen that Shaw Freeman contract was not turned in time. I don't even know how he became our attorney other than a recommendation from our executive director. That's frightening in itself. But to fight us tooth and nail on everything we're trying to do right now and trying to stop us from getting an attorney, that's what scares me. And I wish it was a way that we didn't have to directly deal with Bruce at all, because I think there's a lot of conflict of interest that is clear in this. And I think he's going to do everything he can to prolong this and stall us out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, some kind of ballot option too we chose to piggyback. I mean, you seem like a perfect way out, but I wouldn't be surprised just for personal vendettas that have been created. And from a professional of his standard, it's kind of embarrassing, that we have to fight tooth and nail for representation. I know we got to move on
Real brief, my last question. I brought it up at the training in Elkhart. They had to sign a non-disclosure agreement just to get documents from Ms. Hutton. Is that legal?
I've never heard of that before in this setting. I mean, private or the corporate world or private industry, yeah, but not with a public entity have I heard of non-disclosure agreements, unless it dealt with some type of development deal or something like that. But that's about it.
That was construed up just.
Ms. Hutton, can you clarify to our attorney why did we have to sign non-disclosure agreements?
What we did is because of the previous, they were saying things that were not true, and it was creating havoc, so it was certain people saying things that were untrue. So they just decided to do that, and they did it for employees as well as the board.
Is that legal for them to do it with employees as well?
I haven't seen what the document looks like, but I've never heard of that request in a public entity setting.
Any business that went on in this private setting, in this public setting, we cannot discuss anything. We already know about the open door law about executive sessions, but any documents that we receive, we can't talk about. Anything we request, we have to get it's up to the discretion. And it was ignorant, to be honest. So.
But it's likely that those NDAs would be non-enforceable because Indiana's Access to Public Records Act would allow you to have access to not only documents, but communication, written and otherwise, so.
And one last thing, we have a pending legal issue court case that we need to get on the executive session on, involving myself and Ms. Hutton and document requests. We need to get that behind us, and we need to get those documents turned over so we can get this behind us now and move forward.
Okay, so we'll schedule an executive session.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, as there's no more further questions for our attorney, thank you very much for your report. Director Hudson.
Staff reports are in your packet.
Yeah, and I see they all scurried away, so.
Not holding nobody up, keep looking what you're looking for. Have anyone got a hold of it now? Are we ever gonna have the availability to holler at Mr. Clem, the head of maintenance? I know we directed him to be here many times. I never seen him
We've
yet.
only had him once, and he was on an emergency, so that's why he wasn't here. And I forgot to remind him.
Okay, well, while we looking for other things, I'd like to make a motion to insist that Mr. Clem come to our next regular board meeting, nothing special. Executive, our next regular board meeting, and insist that he's here. And within that motion, if he's not here,
I second the motion that make this person be here, director be here next meeting. We got a second.
okay, I got a second. I want to put a penalty in if he didn't.
Nathan, Patrick,
Let's go.
Aye.
Rodney McCormick,
Aye.
Michael Vincent,
Aye.
Stacy Benning,
Aye.
Kenneth Fly,
Yeah.
Talani Raina.
Aye.
Okay,
6 is it? Yeah. 6 is it.
Do we need to talk about this?
moving on.
Subcommittee reports?
I don't see anything there.
It depends on who chair won't go first.
Is there any specific subcommittees that met between last meeting and this meeting? Anything to report on?
Well, I think me and Ms. Talani. We probably want to do an update on what was that, the internet service, whatever. If you guys want one, she's the chair of it. I'll let her start and maybe piggyback off of anything she said.
No, it's just attempting to call the service providers here in the area to see what they would, what kind of packages they have and cost-wise and stuff like that.
Oh.
But, yeah, it's more or less difficult to sit there and call and do during the business day. So,
Okay, I'd like to also include something in with her since I'm on this board. Ms. Keating was on this committee with us, but Ms. Keating is no longer a member of it. So I don't know if the chair want to include us a third party with this committee. But also information about the internet service is that me and Ms. Talani, Commissioner Talani, we have to figure out with Ms. Hutton, which we haven't done yet, what we should have did previously before we did any kind of call, how many residents are in the projects or the places we want in service, and what kind of service exclusively that we are in search of, and basically more than ever is the amount of people that we're going to be servicing. Only way we need that information is be able to provide it to the service or the company to give, or they can give us a inline quote of what it is. So either myself or Commissioner Talani will contact you to find out how many people we servicing, where we're servicing it at, and exactly what are we in search of exactly, so that way we can get current and the best quotes, and then we'll bring that back to the board, and we'll have you guys vote on it and go from there, and hopefully put that behind us and give everybody internet service like Commissioner McCormick advised. That's all on that part, subcommittee I have to say.
All right.
Okay. New business.
I have a subcommittee report question while we're on here. There's a couple items I wrote down as notes. I was just wondering how things are going. I don't think it was to subcommittee, but we were investigating or talking about after hours call with the power outage. How did that go?
Yes, and we do have that. Looks like we have that under unfinished business, under answering service.
Okay.
Or are you asking a specific question on this previous power outage?
I'll wait for answering service.
Okay. All right.
If you're gonna wait for that, I didn't know we was finna jump right past subcommittees. I do have a resident security subcommittee, something to say. I didn't know you was gonna jump right past every.
Yeah, so
Anybody wants to say something?
no. So for the future, if the individual chairs have any committees that they want,
To speak.
just let us know in an email so we can put you on the agenda.
Well, you said.
So we can-
subcommittee there, so I figured that was the line item, but for each subcommittee to speak up if they had any valuable information for the board.
No, normally it'll be like subcommittee reports. So for example, like reports above it. So you have the finance report, director report. So normally it's like subcommittee report. There's nothing under it, so we'll move on.
Okay, well, with the subcommittee report with resident security, I'd like to involve something, I won't make it long. With resident security report, I'd like to say that, lost my train of thought, Lord. Okie dokie. Resident security. Lost my train of thought that fast. Okay, we're gonna keep it moving. Resident security, we on the ball, and we're gonna try to continue to be on the ball. I lost my train of thought. It was something that I thought the board needed to know, but as of right now, I lost my train of thought. God bless.
New business. Discuss CVR Associates.
So,
Go ahead, Mr. Nathan, Mr. Patrick.
so I understand that there is. So Kathy Howe's gone, and we discussed the idea of CVR Associates, who they do a bunch of HV. I don't want to get that wrong. Section. They do a lot of things. HCV. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to relinquish what I was going to say. If our attorney can give us an overview, since you know.
So my understanding is that there's a need to have someone or some entity to manage the housing choice voucher program. That you're missing some personnel. Is that?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. And CVR, there's several services that they provide, but that is one of the services that they provide. Then they can manage an agency's housing choice voucher program. Oftentimes they'll hire someone locally so that they can train in that process, and at the end of the term of their contract, that person is kind of ready to take over those duties. So I'm familiar with CVR. They're based out of Tampa, Florida, and they do work for housing authorities all around the country. Very capable. I think the question is what the cost will be and whether or not it fits within the budget. That's really the question.
Have you worked with them before?
Yes,
What was it? Did they do a good job?
they did a good job. Yes.
I think that we have a lot of deficiencies in that department. So,
Here, the issue isn't the quality of the work. They do great work. It is whether or not you can afford it, right? That's the big issue.
Well, I have to open it up to everyone. I just can't appoint CVR. I have to put procurement, and from there, then
I guess one question might be, just so the board is aware, is what would you budget for those services so that you have an idea of where in the procurement policy you fall in, right? Like what
Yeah,
I have no idea what
Yeah.
that cost would be. I know it's not cheap, but I know that.
I know that too.
So would it be
In order to, and so what I've been doing, like I said, I've been reaching out to other agencies that I know that are restructuring and doing other things, trying to get someone in here. Because our Section 8 is, we were in good standing. We were working. And so right now, I need someone to can come in and just continue it and not let it, drop.
So my question is to step in real fast with you. With the Section 8, is it advisable that if CVR take over our Section 8, would we be able to, it would be a contract. So when CVR takes over our Section 8, we are no longer managing it or have any dealings or say into CVR doing anything, because we basically, I'm asking this, is we basically say, here, handle that, and we don't have any say to CVR?
No.
Answer that. They still work under her direction.
Okay, that's what I want to know, right there, right.
And I just want to say that Mr. Vincent and Mr. Patrick and we all share the same. I really don't trust Ms. Hutton's selections. And that's why I brought this company up after reviewing. I'm being honest, I'm not going to go off too much of her recommendations at this time. We was here, me and Mr. Fly was here, and we was treated bad, and the tenants was treated bad. I just can't trust this election, and that's why I brought this up, and I hope that Ms. Hutton will recommend using their service, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that's in that department. And maybe, can we even audit what's going on in Section 8?
Well, it sounds like there's two things going, or one thing going on right now and something else that you want to see happen. I think Director Hutton is saying that she's actively looking for someone to come in to lead the HCD program, but you don't have that person yet.
No.
And that should still be the goal, is to have somebody that can work full-time and manage the program. But unless and until that happens, the board is saying you need to do something in order to make sure it's taken care of. So it seems like the procurement needs to move forward, procurement process needs to move forward, so that a recommendation can be made for the agency to enter into a contract with someone. You still can end up finding someone and hiring them, and those two obviously will work together. They can help train that person, because unless they're doing it right now with another housing authority, they're going to need that support anyway.
Right.
And depending upon how you structure the agreement with whoever it may be, CVR or whoever, you can do that in a way where there's a 30-day out, so that you don't end up paying too much, paying an individual and paying at the same time.
And it'd be a wise for us to do our budget first, so we might have to appropriate some of our budget cuts for the hiring of CVR if it's rather expensive, by taking some of the budget cuts after we review our budget workshop or whatnot. Think about maybe appropriating some of that money to secure CVR for our Section 8 manager.
Sure. Can they come in and give us an honest assessment of what condition our Section 8 department was in?
So that
where
can be
was lacking?
Yes, and that can be in the scope of work. With any company that comes in and wants to manage your program, you can say within the scope of work, if we want you to give us an audit of the program and also some recommendations on areas of improvement, and then also manage it. Right.
So where are we at with that process, Ms. Hutton? You're trying to find someone to do the Section 8.
Right, that's what I'm trying to do right now. I have asked the TA to do the scope, to put it out for procurement. So,
Okay, Ms. Hutton, I hope that you look into this and you come back with a recommendation for us, because I just believe that we need to move forward and we need to bring somebody that's in on training.
right, but I have to do the
get the job
procurement,
done.
right?
So we need to get it done. I mean, keep putting stuff off, kicking the can down the road.
I'm not kicking the can down the road. What I've been doing lately is, because Kathy is not here, I've been handling the Section 8 cases and trying to get through. There is a penalty if we do not make these checks out on the 1st of this month and everybody is on this program correctly. So I as well as everything that you all are asking me to do and anybody else, I am the person that is running this program at this time.
It's not, the job's not too big for you, is it? Being an executive director?
Executive director, no, that's not
Okay.
too big.
Okay.
What I'm saying, because Ms. Howell is no longer here, because I expected Ms. Howell to be here to the end of the month to get everything in order, but because the board voted for her to go, I now had to jump
Yeah, what's
in her.
understood, it don't need to be. a-
So we can bring the TA person in and start doing the process of trying to get the procurement together to pay somebody, correct?
That I have contacted the TA. I've already done that. I'm just waiting on him to send it back to me.
I have no more questions.
Unfortunately, Ms. Hutton, we understand, we got you in different places, but we're gonna get it right, okay?
Okay, next, Ms. Sutton.
The job postings, are we finished with CBO? Anybody else had any?
I have nothing.
Okay, the job postings?
Yes.
The job postings has been out for at least 30 days. So far, I've only received one, and I have another person, he's supposed to be in tomorrow to apply for one of the postings, but I'm still looking for people. And what I plan to do is I'm gonna set up an Indeed account for the agency and go on Indeed to see what we can get from them.
And can you remind everyone what those, was it 4 positions?
Yes, I asked for maintenance.
One maintenance?
No,
How many?
right now, I only have one maintenance person that is full-time on our thing. Everybody else are temporary workers. The temporary workers work 90 days. After 90 days, if they do good, then I look into hiring them. But right now, I have 2 temporaries.
How many open positions in maintenance are you advertising?
Well, that fluctuates with 2 to 3, based on our budget. And based on the number of units, because we only have 186 units.
I would just advise that, considering the stand we are in with maintenance and the behind we are in with maintenance, when we do our budget cuts or selecting our budget, we need to appropriate more money to maintenance to hire over 2 or 3 because we are behind, if possible, when we start going through our budget. That's an important department, like Commissioner Cabarn said, and our regular 2 or 3, I think we need more than our regular at this moment.
And what's the other 3 positions, Ms. Sutton?
Finance manager, property manager, and Section 8 manager.
Any discussion from anyone? What's your question answer, Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Next, Ms. Sutton, on the agenda.
ED absence coverage.
Well, I guess this would be resorting back to maybe when you went on training, who was left to cover your spot as you had gone.
I had sent an email to Chairman Patrick.
I think a lot of us didn't receive it. Anyway, when you are out of this building, who will be the acting ED?
There is no acting ED when I'm out of the building.
Intro.
There is no interim ED when I'm out of the building. Now, who I had set aside to, if anything come up, would be Rochelle to contact me for anything that needs to be addressed.
Well, she was acting ED, not the actual ED though.
No, she's not acting ED, but she's the point of contact.
Okay.
That's what I was saying.
I hear what you're saying.
Is she aware of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that correct, Mr. Harris? That's how we go down the chain of command? If we don't have an ED in most buildings where you work at, there's no No one acting
I don't think you necessarily have to have the designation of being acting ED or not.
title?
I think the question is, what is the protocol in the event that the executive director isn't here? Who does someone come to? Like right before the meeting started, the police came, right? There was a situation outside. If you're not here, then who is that person that that police officer would ask for? I think that's a question that's being asked.
Yeah, chain of command.
Yeah, what's the chain of command? What does your organizational chart look like? I think that's what they're asking for. Who's in the bubble under you?
Right.
I think that's the question.
So is Miss Rochelle correct?
At this time, because previously it was the Falana, the finance manager.
Okay, can you just send us out, just the chain of command when you're not here?
Okay.
And if something, worst case scenario, if something happened to you and Miss Rochelle, who will be the next person on that? Just worst case scenario.
Well, considering it's only me, Rochelle, Blanche would be next.
And what's Blanche's title?
She's a clerk.
A clerk? Okay. Chairman? That's the department. Okay.
Okay.
I need to too, but I have to get back to work.
Yeah.
But
But I usually
Well, let me say this. Can we table the rest of the unfinished business and pending items? I move to table the remainder of our agenda.
Just one item, right?
Who's going, who's staying?
I'm staying.
I'm staying.
That's what I'm saying. There's just one item left. Is that correct?
Well, so we won't have
The
a
attorney already gave.
Yeah, we won't have a
Yeah,
quorum.
you need to turn anyway.
Right, that's why
Yeah, that's right.
I'm moving to table everything because one of the one of the biggest things on this, left over on this agenda is one of the things that Mr. Vincent was talking about is the snow removal, and I would like to know where we at with
The
that.
bid is in your packet there.
Okay.
It's in your thing.
Do you have any?
The snow removal is in there, and then the PE, I redid the PE because we got no responses to after the fact. So I got both of those are the last two things in your book.
And the last question, Mr. Vincent brought up a great point. So the last person we had doing snow removal and some odd jobs, cutting grass, was that individual bonded? Or was that information provided to Mr. Vincent to pass on to the rest of us?
Okay, at the time when Mr. Vincent had it, I don't handle that part of the contracts, Rochelle did. And so when I asked for the insurance, he had only gave us a regular insurance. But he has brought us back the COI and everything, so.
So why wasn't that forwarded on to Mr. Vincent?
I don't know. I don't-
All you gave me was a proof of insurance card, just like I have in my.
Right, and so Rochelle contacted him and told him that that was not, we needed the COI, so he brought us in the COI, we do have it. So Rochelle is not in the office right now, but I will make sure you have it in.
See that we don't have enough for a quorum at this time, I move to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.